Hey Josh, what is the best sandwich in the world?
An Italian hoagie made somewhere in Philadelphia or Jersey. What the fuck is this? What the fuck have you actually done here?
So, let's make it, shall we?
Hi, I'm a total nobody, and today I'm going to react to Josh Weissman's, quote, perfect fried chicken sandwich.
Chicken, very important. You can use boneless, skinless chicken thighs. Please do not use breast in this sandwich.
Yes, chicken thighs are superior to chicken breast, but this has become a bit of a tired meme. Culinary history is riddled with instances in which a quality product has been overlooked for a variety of biases. Lobster, ribeye steaks, monkfish, oysters, and yes, chicken thighs were all once extremely cheap because they didn't suit the palates of the upper class. But once people realized how good they could be, thanks in large part to, quote, lower class cooking ingenuity, they became more widely used and also more appropriately priced. And this happens in cycles. For example, once lobster became ridiculously expensive, people found that monkfish tastes and has a very similar texture to lobster. Hence, it was called the poor man's lobster. And now it's also ridiculously expensive. And yes, the popularity of using chicken thighs has caused its price to become comparable to chicken breast. But while chicken breasts don't have as much innate flavor as chicken thighs, that doesn't mean chicken breast doesn't have its uses. Like when you're going to drown chicken in, well, we'll get to that later.
Now, we're gonna marinate. Buttermilk, 1.5 cups.
What's interesting here, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, is that Josh is making Korean-styled fried chicken, which I think never uses a marinade. And I think it's because they are focused on getting it as crispy as possible. And also I think that's why they slather it in some kind of sauce. Marinating both tenderizes the meat but also seasons it throughout. Going back to before, he specifically chose chicken thighs because they are fattier and therefore more juicy. So I don't really understand why you would need to wet marinate a moist meat this way. If you're making Korean-style fried chicken, it makes more sense to dry brine it, or at least to me.
1 teaspoon of fresh ground white pepper, 1.5 teaspoons of probably my favorite ingredient, MSG, 1 tablespoon of kosher salt, 2 teaspoons of granulated sugar, and 2 teaspoons of garlic powder.
You ever think about the production staff that has to measure and fill all those single-use plastic ramekins? Why would anyone have them in their home?
You can go out and buy pickles, sure. I respect that, except there's a big problem. Store-bought pickles are probably 25 to 50% less good than if you made them at home.
Sure, pickles really aren't that hard to make yourself, but you just said that they are 50% not as good. And buying fresh vegetables, pickling agents, and the jars it's gonna go in, far exceeds your own economic formula. So whether or not you should start pickling yourself should probably come down to, well, exactly how much do you enjoy pickles and how often will you use them? You know, it's like buying used gym equipment from the Salvation Army. No matter how much you save, if you don't use it, it's probably not a good investment.
Chicken sauce. Garlic. Start with this. There's a way we're using this garlic. We're being very intentional with it. First of all, 4 cloves, okay? I want this very finely minced. Bring that together, and then all you gotta do is run your knife a few times through this bad boy, and after a few passes, you have a beautiful fine mince.
Okay, first time I'm going to tell you to do something differently than what Josh is doing. Don't chop your garlic like this for a sauce. The garlicky flavor you're looking for becomes more intense the more broken down it is. So the more you rupture the cell structures of the garlic, the more intense the flavor becomes. So get yourself one of these. It's called a microplane, and it is one of the few inexpensive kitchen gadgets that is a game changer for home cooks. And instead of chopping the hell out of 4 garlic cloves, you could probably microplane 2 and get the same job done.
1/4 cup of gochujang, absolute non-negotiable. Go to a Korean grocery store, go to 99 Ranch, get it on Amazon.
Gochujang is now in like every grocery store. Now samjang, that one's a little harder to find. You don't hear about it as much because the flavor is much more subtle, so Zoomer food tuber palates haven't been able to detect it yet.
3 tablespoons of ketchup.
You know, it's funny for how much shit people talk about ketchup, yet cuisines the world over use it in everything.
2 tablespoons of a nice light honey. This is wildflower honey, that's fancy. And 2 tablespoons of white distilled vinegar, a clean acid.
Yes, and if you want to know the secret to many Asian sauces, it involves using really sweet ingredients and then balancing them with some type of vinegar.
We're making mayo. Actually, we're not making it this time. Normally I would make it, but Kobe mayo has a specific flavor, and I imagine it's a fine balance of oil, egg yolk, and chemicals that makes it taste like that.
Actually, it's sugar and vinegar.
More garlic.
Oh, there's a microplane.
God, there's so many components to this sandwich that people need to make, so I'm trying to help you out.
By the way, this sandwich goes on buns that he made himself, and I think that takes at least 2 days.
Slaw. This cabbage worked hard to become what it is today. In order to honor it, please do not chop this any thicker than that of a piece of paper. The only way to really do that consistently, easily, is with a mandolin.
An absurd amount of kitchen-related emergency room visits are due to mandolins. Please don't buy one. Nothing that thinly sliced is worth it, and if you're going to get one, for God's sake, use the handguard. Don't sever the arteries in your wrists trying to f***ing John McClane some cabbage. Also, if you aren't able to get cabbage that super fine, slice it as thin as you can, dust it with salt, and let it drain so it draws out some of the moisture, while also tenderizing it. Then rinse the salt off, drain it again, and you'll be fine.
Bread and fry. Very basic. Bowl. 2 cups all-purpose flour, half cup of potato starch. You could go all-purpose flour, but the potato starch is gonna add a little bit of crispiness.
Correct. The secret to Korean fried chicken is the use of potato starch. In fact, I think a lot of KFC doesn't use flour at all.
2 teaspoons of kosher salt, 1 teaspoon of MSG, 1 teaspoon cayenne, 1 teaspoon garlic powder, half teaspoon onion powder, and 2 teaspoons of black peppercorn.
So the seasoning for the breading is like American Southern fried chicken, while the marinade, which typically isn't done in Korea, uses Korean ingredients. Interesting.
Here's the key here. You take a little bit of this dip paste and just flick it into your dry. You want little tiny beads getting flicked in there. You do that a couple times. Stir it in, a couple more times. Now these little beads are gonna turn into clumps of flour that are gonna create the flakiness to the chicken, and this is gonna add a little extra crisp.
I've seen this trick done many times, but only on YouTube. See, if you're a restaurant and you're making fried chicken all day, dipping and breading, this will just naturally happen. Drops from the batter will fall into the breading station. So I genuinely don't know if this actually does anything, or if it's just some weird YouTuber home-cooked logic, because the end result is more like from a restaurant. I mean, what's next? Are you going to start printing off menus for what you can make in your house because that's what restaurants do?
So we have a 2-stage breading setup. We have our dip and we have our flour dredge. So here's how you do it. Remember, wet hand, dry hand, or whichever one you want to do.
Ah yes, the wet hand, dry hand method that many people attribute to Chef John from foodwishes.com. And even though he didn't literally invent it, I will never not be bitter about how little credit John gets. All you young whippersnapper zoomers with your collabs and your TikToks and your book deals, and no one puts any respect on the OG food YouTuber that was several years ahead of his time and is still out here in the streets making content. You people make me sick.
We have a 7-quart pot filled with high heat oil. That can be vegetable oil, canola oil, avocado oil. Don't use olive oil.
Correct. Olive oil has a substantially lower smoke point and will catch fire. If that confuses you because you've either bought an olive oil from the store that's for searing in, or you've seen people shallow fry in olive oil, that is usually some sort of oil blend where the other oil keeps the olive oil in check. Don't fry or sear in pure olive oil.
And once all that's fried, increase the heat to about 350 Fahrenheit and fry each piece 1 to 2 at a time until crisp and golden brown like this.
Correct. Korean fried chicken is typically fried twice. The first time to cook it through, and the second time at a higher temperature to give it that super crispy texture. I'm a little worried about the color on that fry though. It seems a little dark. It looks like the fry you get when using really old oil, even though we know for a fact that it isn't. Maybe a bit too much cayenne pepper or too much batter in the batter to breading ratio.
Now, we're assembling, so we're ready to make our slaw real quick just before we put our sandwiches together. We have our cut sliced cabbage. So you're gonna take 1 cup of kimchi, and you're gonna squeeze.
Wait, what? Where did that come from? Are we going full Gordon Ramsay grilled cheese here?
You're gonna take some thinly sliced green onion, toss that together, 1 clove of garlic, grated. A lot of garlic in this.
Okay, we're losing the plot here. There's so many flavors involved. It's just a sandwich.
So to assemble chicken in the bowl, your gochujang sauce. Toss it in the sauce, till thoroughly coated.
God, that's so much sauce.
Now to toast your buns, add a couple tablespoons of butter in a medium nonstick pan over medium heat, and add your buns cut side down and toast, moving around the pan.
Oh, here's the milk bun that takes days to make. Can't forget that.
Add your garlic mayo, a little bit of your slaw, your glorious glazed chicken, your pickles, mayo your top bun, and crown this beast, this beauty of a king.
Okay, so the slaw, by your own admission, is creamy and acidic. The mayo is also creamy. The pickled jalapenos are also acidic. Why? Why are they all actually here? To use the banh mi as an example, it's a sandwich that also has several components layered onto bread that accentuates the protein, but each element has only one job. The pickled veggies add crunch and acidity, the cilantro adds herbal notes, the mayo adds creaminess. Why do you have multiple ingredients doing things done by other ingredients? Why is there so much sauce? Is it solely because Korean fried chicken is tossed in sauce? Korean fried chicken is served simply and by itself, with some pickled veggies on the side to snack on. I don't understand why all this is needed here. What have you done? What the f*** have you actually done? Does this sandwich serve any actual purpose beyond going viral on the internet? Is there any thought or intentionality behind the choices made here? What if you applied this system of taking bits and bobs from different yet popular cuisines and apply it elsewhere? Like, oh, I really like French and English breakfasts. What if we stuffed a croissant with baked beans? Look, does Joshua Weissman know more about food than me? Yes, and by an immeasurable margin. What about cooking? Also 1,000 times yes. I just think conceptually this sandwich is a wild miss. Remember, this all started with him stating that you have to use chicken thighs. You absolutely cannot use chicken breast. But look at this sandwich. With all of these ingredients and accoutrements and flavors, do you genuinely believe that you could taste the difference between a breast and thigh under all of that? Or is it all just for the memes?